Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Hype Wrench, and by Junk Be Gone, and by the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's edition of the Sports Source. We have a packed house. I say that every week, but when you've got 11 people in one 90-minute show, that is the definition of packed. 6 VFLs, 5 of us media guys. We're going to break down yesterday's big win over South Carolina from every angle, every direction, and play it forward for the rest of the year and Texas A&M as Tennessee hits the open date. Josh Heupel's team disposed of, got revenge on South Carolina and Shane Beamer. They rattled Spencer Rattler. We'll delve into all of that stuff. Let me show you what else is coming up on the show as well as that stuff. Top takeaways from the game, Cooper Mays and the offensive line. Trusting Tennessee's defense to win games. Are we ready to start doing that now? Is the offense good enough to win the SEC East? Looking ahead to Texas A&M, as I mentioned. Our current Vols, the 4-1 Vols that we're watching, how do they rank versus our preseason expectations? What's the difference? Your opinions with our polling and also the Cavaleros line. It's a packed show. Let's dive into it. First segment brought to you by our friends at Junk Be Gone. When it comes to home renovation, inside or outside, there's always a lot of that old stuff that has to go to make room for the new stuff you're building or bringing in. Let Junk Be Gone carry away all the old stuff for you. I guarantee you'll be glad you turned to them. I have every time I've used them over years. You can find out more about this great family-owned, locally-owned company by visiting junkbegone.biz. We thank them for being the founder of the feast here on the Sports Source this week. All right, let's welcome in the first group. We're going to do some hockey line changes today. I tell you, we got Jimmy Hyams right there, VFL Mike Stowell, VFL Kevin Simon, VFL Will Overstreet, and a bunch more guys waiting in the wings. Thanks to all you guys for being here. Let me go ahead and we got the topic super up there now, but let's go to the poll super. There it is. Poll question for today, and go ahead and click that QR code. Get your smartphone out, click the QR code, or visit sportsource.tv/polls to play this. And I want to commend you again. I saw this kind of situation, this poll thing, from a station I watch out of Massachusetts, out of Boston. It goes across the country, the sports channel. More of you are clicking this than the people are clicking that, and I hear that from the company. So that says something about Vol fans. Our question today, UT is 4-1 right now. How will the Vols finish the regular season? It looks like the early leader is 9-3, but you can go with 11-1, you can go with 10-2, you can go with 9-3, you can go with 8-4. I didn't get any bleaker than that. So take a look, click the button, take part in our poll. We want to know what you say, and we'll get back to that all throughout today's show. All right, let's dive in here. Tennessee with the big 41-20 win. I want to start with Will Overstreet. What was your big takeaway?
Well, I get to talk about something I like to talk about, the defense. I mean, the defensive line, the defensive front, you can talk about South Carolina not being good on the offensive line, but you played 12 deep, and you were winning at every one of those stages with everybody on that team. So to look at this, it was a dominant performance up front by the defensive line to not only get pressure, but, I mean, you had a complete game, and you got better because you had some guys back, Simmons coming back, some other guys that really added even more to the depth and to where you started the game with where they have the cheetah package front. They started with a heavier group up front that actually pulled some lighter guys out. So they really have two different separate lines of heavy run guys, heavy pass rush guys. I think it's a good group, and it looks to get better.
Gentlemen, who's next? Jump in. Big takeaways.
I agree with Will on the defense. I mean, the fact that, look, and I don't think South Carolina's offensive line is very good, but that hadn't stopped Rattler from throwing for over 300 yards a game. It hadn't stopped him from completing 74% of his passes. It's like Josh Heupel said, he was throwing from a well. And have you ever tried to complete a pass from a well? It's hard to do. So I thought the defense was terrific. They dominated the line of scrimmage. They had 6 sacks. 6 different people participated in those sacks. They took advantage of a freshman left tackle. I thought what Tennessee did on defense was remarkable. And I know South Carolina had that long run, but if you discount that, which you can't, 26 carries for 56 yards in the run game not counting that.
Yeah, that
75
one run skewed the numbers in a huge way. One thing I will take away is certainly the focus on the pass rush. There were times where Rattler did have time and he didn't have guys open. I wasn't surprised by the pass rush. Tennessee went into that game leading the SEC in sacks. South Carolina led the SEC in sacks allowed. I haven't seen Tennessee's secondary shut down receivers. And there were times yesterday where he had time and he didn't see anybody to go to. And to me, that was the bigger surprise. The big story is the defense in general, but I was pleasantly surprised by the secondary. Kevin, Mike, who wants to go next?
Yeah, so my biggest takeaway was the offense continuing to take another step. It just seems like week by week, play calling, Joe, receivers, offensive line getting Cooper Mays back. But just to see them take another step in the right direction, because that's the straw that stirs the drink for our team.
Yeah.
So it was good to see them get on the right track.
Well, the balance of that, Kevin, too. 238 rushing, 239 passing.
Hard to beat that.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Taking it a step further on the defensive side, last year Spencer Rattler torched Tennessee with blitzes. He knew to throw the blitz. We didn't have to blitz, right? And so now he has to sit there and make decisions, and the pocket collapsed on him. That was big. I think the other thing, too, is if you look at what Joe Milton did, but not so much what he didn't do, but we started him see throws across the middle. We saw more of the middle of the field that up until now was non-existent. It was the quick screens, the bubble passes. Now you're seeing guys run across the middle, slants, post routes. I think that shows a little bit more of what he's able to do and how he might now make defenders think, okay, we do have to defend the middle of the field.
I thought, a couple of guys that deserve credit that take a lot of heat. Tim Banks, defensive coordinator. Again, we did this at the end of last year. Your secondary was bad last year. There's no question about it. But all your other numbers, in spite of that, were 4th, 5th, 6th in the conference. And to be paired with the offense you were paired with last year, that's pretty good. He was getting a lot out of him. So give him credit for last night because he doesn't get a lot of credit around here. Also, Willie Martinez is probably your most maligned guy, and probably because he was on the staff with the previous coach that everyone despised. But I've thought the secondary played better last night. So let's give some love to Willie Martinez. When they don't play well, we point fingers. So here's a bouquet when they did play well. Right. I thought it looked like a team. Spencer Rattler said after the game that, well, congratulations to them. They won their Super Bowl. I thought, yeah, kind of like it was your Super Bowl last year when that place went nuts, erupting, beating Tennessee.
Well, honestly, I kind of when I heard that statement, I'm glad you brought it up because I said to him, I go, if I'm a scout or somebody else saying, so you didn't treat it like it was the most important game?
Good one.
I mean, that to me was like a clear, if I'm the head coach going, wait, so they were more motivated than us? They were more ready to play than us? They thought this game was worth more than you did? I mean, that's clearly what it said to me more so than anything.
But the answer is yes.
And that's what I was going to ask you guys. That looked to me like a team that, and credit the coaches again, it looked like a team that was embarrassed by what happened last year, took it seriously, prepared for it, and was ready to take this team's head off.
I mean, really, it looked to me like 51, the left tackle, South Carolina, couldn't block any of us. So, I mean, just like Will was saying, like anybody who wanted to get some was getting some. And I'm going to be honest, it was impressive for me to see Spencer Rattler operate at all in those conditions because really, like Coach Heupel said, it looked like he's throwing out of a well. That just cripples a quarterback. And he was able to make a little bit happen, but obviously not enough for them to do much of anything.
I don't think Jimmy would have got pressure on.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy would have got home, too. I got faith.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, those kind of comments, and the coaches downplayed like, this isn't a big thing. This isn't that important. All of us, anybody that ever wore the jersey, wore orange, they're like, okay, I remember that game last year. I'm holding it in, and I remember it, and I'm going to take it out on them next year. So they downplayed it, but I tell you, that locker room, they had that game circled for a long time.
You don't think a weight room coach ever said, you better get another rep because of what South Carolina did to you last year? Happened all summer long. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it goes both ways. Everybody, how could we lose at Florida? There you go.
Yep.
Do you not think they were hearing, well, you went up there and got whipped this last year by Tennessee? And I got news for you. You're probably going to be seeing that at Alabama as well this year. where people are going to want. You got to be ready for it. And I don't think South Carolina was as ready as they wanted to be. But kudos to Tennessee for a big win. We're going to break it down in a million different ways as this show rolls on. Let's take a look at the game gauge. We do this every week. Before the season started, we showed you some numbers that basically, if Josh Heupel's teams over the last 5 years as a head coach, 5+ years, if he hits certain markers, it's like an 85-90% win percentage. Rushing yards, they need to get over 150, did it at 238. Yards per rush, need to get to 4.5, did it at 6.0. Yards per play, they want to get to 6.0, they got to 6.6. Sacks, they win 97% of the time when they get 3 sacks. They got 6 last night. Now let's take a look at the next 3 of these that are pretty interesting. He is now 30-0 as a head coach when his team allows fewer than 27 points. 30-0. 45-8 when his team scores 30 points or more. And this is a little bit worrisome, all right? You lost the turnover battle again. He's now 5-7 as a head coach. Shows how rarely it happens, but it's happened 2-3 times already this year in 5 games. That's gonna catch up with you, I'm afraid, if you keep turning the ball over. But 5-7 when he loses the turnover margin, you see the difference. 29-2 when he wins it. So it's usually a very careful with the ball, cautious with the ball kind of team. This year they're turning it over a little bit more than I'm guessing he would want to see. So that's one to keep an eye on moving forward. When we come back, who was the best player on the field? What was the worst coaching move? And is there a little bad blood there between Mr. Heupel and Beamer? That was a quick handshake. And that interesting timeout to make South Carolina sit over there and wait for the game to end. We'll discuss all that next on the Sports Source.